Now let us talk about the continual quality improvements of outcome-based educations. We have been mentioning about the importance of continual quality improvement, which is the CQI, within the OBE model. The CQI is an essential part of the OBE. Without CQI, it is not an OBE. The purpose of this CQI is to improve the quality of the program so that it becomes more effective, optimized, and with better qualities over time. Let us look at the characteristics of this CQI. The continual quality improvement exists only when it is done systematically. What does it mean by systematic? That means there will be proper sequence, using appropriate assessment tools, doing proper data analysis, and when it comes to the CQI part, there should be proper mechanism to execute the CQI. The entire process needs to be closely monitored, and the implications of CQI should also be observed. It should be done systematically, rigorously, in order to bring positive impacts to the program. CQI leads to a dynamic behavior of a program or an organization. The program is not stagnant, as there will be continual improvements. The improvements are driven internally, which at the same time, the external factors are monitored. This is to ensure the program has the ability to quickly identify the needs of the stakeholders, make necessary adjustments to meet their demands. CQI should come from internal instead of due to the external factors. The institutions or the program should take initiative to continually improve the qualities of the programs. Also, CQI cannot be achieved in isolation. We will need to constantly monitor the latest development of the surroundings, the needs of the stakeholders, the latest technology and practices in the industry, so that we know how do we improve the programs. It exists when there is a continuous pursuit of excellence that motivates and guides the organizations. It should be something which is objective, clear and explicit, something which is measurable. Normally, we will have the performance metrics to be well defined in order to facilitate the entire process of CQI. It should also be carried out on a regular basis, has the nature of cyclical, and the assessment as acquired from the previous will be the baseline for future assessment, so that we know whether the program is actually improving or otherwise. Now, CQI will need to synchronize with education objectives, missions of institutions of higher learning, as well as the needs of the stakeholders. All this sets the directions of improvement. Without proper directions, CQI will go nowhere. All the efforts of the CQI, if not properly planned, it will end up in circles, investing so much effort, but so little can be yielded as a result of it. Also, CQI can be proven through well-documented reports and data. It must be something that can be proven. That's why it needs to be carried out in a systematic manner, objectively defined, with the performance metrics properly outlined. The assessment done previously should be properly recorded, and this should serve as the baseline for the next assessment to see if the program is actually improving or becoming worse. Of course, we will expect the program to improve. Sometimes if the CQI actions is not relevant or not properly designed, or not properly executed, it is also bring harm to the program, which is possible. Now if you notice the respective CQI actions offering no positive inputs to the program, you will know that not to proceed with the respective CQI action. You don't have to manipulate the result, making sure that there are always improvements observed after every CQI action. Knowing which CQI actions is functional and which CQI actions are not functional is also a part of the CQI. When you are able to identify that, make sure those are well documented, and we can avoid those ineffective CQI actions in the future. This is also a part of the CQI. Now, how do we know that our CQI really brings to the success? We can observe if the respective CQI actions or the program, after going through the CQI, meets the needs those that have been identified. You may refer to the performance matrix as identified in order to determine the success of the respective CQI actions. While doing this CQI, you will be able to identify the problems. Finding the problem is the process of CQI. We will have to handle the problem professionally. CQI does not seek to blame. Blaming doesn't solve the problem. It is meant for improvements. Therefore, the entire process here is trying to identify a problem so that improvement can be made to overcome the problems. And this process is supposed to be sustainable, and it takes time. Normally, we do not expect one single CQI action will be able to solve all the problems. This normally will not happen. As long as we observe the progressions and improvements of the program, that is good enough. If you are more ambitious, you would like to see significant growth of the program. Drastic growth may not always be better. This you need to bear in mind of. Sometimes, solving one problem may lead to the other problems. Normally, there won't be once and for all solutions in improving the program. What we can do here is we ensure the program improves slightly every now and then. What is the strength and advantage within the program we would like to maintain as it is? What are the weaknesses? We try to overcome it bits by bits. Theoretically, over a long period of time, the program becomes better and better. The weaknesses reduces, while the strength and advantages enhanced. That will be the ultimate goal of CQI. This is what we talk about: continual improvement through small incremental change using scientific method. Lastly, this CQI needs to become a culture to a program. It is the most effective when it becomes a natural part of the way everyday work is done. And CQI should involve at various levels, from course level to program level, and also to the institutional levels. All parties along the pipeline needs to participate in CQI in their own capacities. Previously, we talked about the CQI cycle. There are 3 cycles here: the course outcome cycle, program outcome cycle, and program objective cycles. Probably, you may want to know how this entire things will look like when CQI is taking place. Taking this as an example, we will start with the course outcome cycle. This cycle has the shortest duration. It is done every semester. The cycle starts at the early of the semester, ends as the semester finish, where there should be CQI actions proposed to be implemented in the next semester. we have the assessment tools. This can include the reports for the assignment, laboratory, fieldworks, project, site visit, and etc. It can also be due to the presentations, final year project reports, industrial training reports, progress tests and final exam, as well as course feedback reports. These reports are acquired from the students' work, while the course feedback reports are produced by the lecturers as a part to evaluate the performance of the students as well as that respective course. Now you have the assessment tool in place. There will be data analysis for the course outcome levels. You will need to set some performance indicators for the COs. Let's say for this example, the performance indicator to determine attainments of CO by a student is defined by students acquiring 40% out of the total marks addressing that particular COs. Now, why do you set 40% here? This one, it will be very much dependent on the sensitivity of the measurement. Different programs may have different definitions. In this case, 40% is set as the minimum passing marks for the students. Some may find this 40% too low. You can consider increasing it. Bear in mind that the higher targets here will lead to less students having the ability to attend the respective COs. In this example, 40% is set, which is in line with the passing mark of that particular course. Students score less than 40% for that particular course shall be considered failed. This is at the students level. As for the course level, we would like to see a majority of the students manage to acquire the respective CO. The target here is 80%. This 80% represents a majority, so that if 80% of the students attend the respective CO, it indicates that the delivery methods is acceptable. Based on results as acquired from the assessment tool, we evaluate against the performance indicators in order to identify which CO is not being attained, and then we propose for CQI for the course level. These are some examples of CQI, such as to have additional scopes for the integrated design project, to increase the open-ended lab levels for Civil Engineering Lab 1, 2, and 3, to incorporate practical tests for Civil Engineering Lab 1, 2, and 3, to have presentations for all the courses, to do some streamlining for the courses where the assignment design shall be industrial based, so that all the needs and practices in the industry can be covered. Students are at least being exposed to the industrial practices before being discharged into the industry. Or there are suggestions given by the external examiners, and also involvement of the industrial advisory panels in the evaluations of the final year project, integrated design project, and industrial-based assignment. These are some examples of the CQIs. When the respective CQIs are being proposed, make sure you're going to implement them in the following semester. And then you will use assessment tools to do the assessment again, evaluate the result in accordance to the similar set of the performance indicator, and see if these CQIs really brings to the improvements of the program. It is possible for you to propose a list of the improvements, some of which are not effective, Then you may remove those which are ineffective, come up with the other proposal. Those CQI actions seems to be useful and bringing positive outcome to the program. You can keep them to be incorporated within the course in future. After that, you are looking into the program outcome levels. There will be a series of the assessment tools. This includes the course feedback report, program review reports, industrial training survey, employer survey, exit survey, alumni survey, teaching evaluations, external examiner, industrial advisory panels. Out of various assessment tools here, you conduct the analysis. You need to set the performance indicators for POs, which in this example here, the course considered attend PO when 80% of the students attend the respective COs. This establishes the relationship between the CO and PO, with the assumption that if the student attend the respective CO, the PO is considered attend by that course. Therefore, 80% is set based on this 80% here. Then, in order to determine a PO is attend, you need 80% of the course addressing it to be attend. This will have to represent the majority, so that you can confidently say that the attainments of that PO is mainly due to the attainments of the respective course. While analyzing the result, you will need to also analyze the previous CQI actions. Since that you have imposed that all the courses should have presentations, you want to see whether the presentation skills of the students actually improve after that. You can compare among the cohorts without this in place and with the presentations for all courses in place. You may also observe the students in terms of their presentation skills in their first year as compared with their presentation skills in the final years. You want to see whether this CQI actions is really effective in improving the presentation skills. Since you have made compulsory in the presentations, and you observe students' communication skill improve, that means this CQI actions really brings to you positive outputs, which is good, and you can maintain it as a culture of the program. And from that particular cohort onwards, all the courses will have presentations. Let's say now you have additional scopes in terms of the IDP, Integrated Design Project. In order to help IDP to be properly carried out, you prepare the students through industrial-based assignment, which you have streamlined from the first year towards the final year. Now you would like to monitor the outcome of this CQI. Does this IBA here helps the IDP at the final years later? You can observe the changes among the cohorts with and without the industrial-based assignment. Let's say now you notice in the integrated design project, the project management skill has improved, which is good. That means this additional scope here brings to the positive impacts to the program. Probably you should consider to keep it. Other than that, you may need to formalize the CQI, systematic tracing of the previous CQI record. Or you will have to establish system to systematically monitor the complex engineering problem solving and complex engineering activities. This could be a part of the CQI here, or you can put it at the levels of the program outcomes. Now, after the data analysis, When you observe some weaknesses within the program, you will have to propose for CQI actions for future improvements. If you find you have insufficient support staff, probably you can persuade the management to have additional support staff, especially in the management of the labs. If you would like to see continuous growth of the lecturers, and you want your lecturers to have good exposures to the industrial practices, develop some mechanism to promote and encourage the academic staff to pursue for their professional engineer status. Let's say now if you observe the teaching and learning methods very traditional mode, you want to build a series of soft skills among the students, you will need to come up a mechanism to encourage innovative teaching and learning activities among the lecturers. If the lecturers have limited knowledge or having difficulty to conduct student-centered learning, probably you will have to train your staff in order to improve the qualities of the teaching and learning. You may also look into the POs as well as their relationship between the COs to determine how effective is the CO attends to the POs. This is for you to further optimize the alignments between the POs and COs. Also, you may need to look into the curriculum review as necessary to make the program delivery more effective. Update the content of the curriculum, remove the redundant, incorporate the latest development as well as the latest technology so that the graduate can be competitive in the working industry later. There will be external examiner visit. Seek and acquire professional advice from the external examiner. Seek the comments and recommendations from the third party in order to improve your programs. The external examiners are normally academicians who are very experienced in the respective field as well as experienced with the accreditation practices. You might need to also involve the industrial practitioners, engage some of them from the industry as the industrial advisory panels to look into the curriculum and to seek their advice and inputs how you can improve the programs further. Now that you have identified the CQI, all this should be put into the implementations and the next cycle starts. Higher up in the next level, it will be the program objective levels. This level is looking at the graduates 3 to 5 years after they have completed the program. There will be a series of the assessment tools such as the employer survey, alumni survey, tracer survey, industrial training survey, industrial advisory panels, and external examiners. Having those surveys conducted, you will carry out data analysis. You should have the performance indicator well established as the benchmark and the target compared with the result as acquired from the assessment. Then you determine whether the PEOs are attained. Identify the strengths and weaknesses of your program, acquire the response of the stakeholders, observe the qualities of your program. Then you can work out the CQI actions, such as you review the OBE, curriculum review, after you conducted the survey, as well as after the EAC accreditations. If necessary, you will have to look into the competency indicators, see if anything that you can do within the entire program here that helps to increase the chances of attaining the program objectives. The whole thing here will involve a lot of stakeholders. There are Engineering Accreditation Council, Ministry of Higher Education and the relevant governing institutions such as Malaysian Qualifications Agency (MQA), the employers, the Industrial Training Supervisor, Industrial Advisory Panels, external examiners, graduates or alumni, academic staff, students, and etc. Different stakeholders may participate at different levels of this CQI cycle. This shows an example how the CQI cycle is applied. Now, these cycles will have to be conducted in a continuous manner so that you will see progressions and improvements over times. And you also observe a systematic approach in carrying out the CQI and OBE in regulating and improving the qualities of the program. This is just an example. Different programs may do it differently. However, the process and the frameworks are similar. The bottom line here, it will be you need to be very sure what you are doing. Everything goes back to the fundamentals. You want to improve the program ultimately. You are not encouraged to mimic any other approach as conducted by the other program without really understanding it. Nevertheless, you can still refer, trying to make sense why they do this and why they do that. You don't have to literally follow everything here. This is very much dependent on how your program operates, what is the conditions of your programs, in terms of the manpower, in terms of the students' quality, and so on and so forth. You also will not expect you rectify all the problems at once. You cannot make the thing perfect in one cycle, but you can always make a little bit improvements, cycle by cycle. Over time, the programs become better and better.